Brandon, I appreciate you coming on the podcast again. We talked a lot last time, and honestly, we talked about it off air. We need you back like as soon as possible. So I really appreciate you making the time to come back.
Stronger, smarter, faster, healthier, better.
Thanks for having me again, man. This is like, it feels really special. So
yeah. Well, yeah, like the guys, everybody said like, we got to bring it back. We got to like have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation. Today it's going to be a little bit more of a free flow. Obviously, usually on the podcast, I have the show notes. We talked a little bit about what we want to do. I mean, our main conversation, honestly, today is to really dive into MB and like what it helps with. And I really want to dissect like everything when it comes to that product. So we have our cold drinks today because it's a hot day.
Absolutely.
So let's get into a conversation. So basically last time we chatted, we talked about a protocol for me to go on to really try Methylene Blue. So right now what I'm doing is I am, for the first 4 days, I'm taking about 30 to 40, sometimes 50 drops. And then on like the hottest day or the day that I am exercising the most, whether it's a 2 a day, 3 a day, I take 100 drops, 105, 110 is the max I've been. And honestly, I feel like I can push a lot more with my workouts. I feel like I'm absorbing the sun a lot better outside. Like, you know, when I'm running with a weighted vest and running like 5 to 10K, like my energy expenditure feels more. Like I can produce more.
Yeah.
And so that's, and especially because in the heat, it just feels so heavy. And I know this sounds silly, but it just feels like makes it sound like I'm a superhero. It makes it, so honestly, I feel like I'm absorbing it and just pushing it out through the movements. And it makes me feel like everything is flowing really well. Next thing, honestly, I'm seeing is I've never really had like a gut health issue from my understanding, but 100% things are digesting way better. And faster, and I definitely feel like I've leaned out a little bit. Give me your thoughts on that.
Man, that's super loaded, but I love it. Like there's so much to dive into here. I think it's best if we probably like back up and say kind of what Methylene Blue is and how it works, because the points that you touched on, weight loss, Methylene Blue has been shown to increase metabolic rate. It increases cellular respiration. So you're literally increasing the oxygen that your cells can take in. And this is how you create ATP. ATP, for those who aren't aware, adenosine triphosphate, it's what keeps me talking. It's what keeps my heart beating right now. It's what keeps us alive. So I may have mentioned this in the last podcast. I'm not too sure, but there was a scientist, James Blackstock, in 1989, that he came out with this hypothesis that the body needs to produce its own weight in ATP every single day, which is insane. When you think of an ATP molecule, it's you can't even see it, right? It's like, it's just so tiny, but you need to produce, say for a 180 pound individual, 180 pounds of ATP to kind of stay at that equilibrium. And when you start to dive a bit lower than that and your mitochondria aren't working properly and you're not really kind of having that good energy output, then this is when we start to see disease onset. So you're touching on a lot of cool things here. Also, like the fact that you really are a solar panel. Like this is what we are. We're meant to absorb the sun's rays, specifically like the UVA, UVB, and red light in conjunction with each other. Unfortunately, the sunlight gets a bad rap these days from a lot of dermatologists and a lot of centralized kind of medicine and thinking. Like Dr. Cruz and Dr. Alexis Jasmine can really dive into this deeper, and I've listened to them a few times to really like open my mind in the kind of perspective of sunlight. So just to kind of like going off track a little bit, but when it comes to sunlight, when you look at when it's researched, UVA and UVB light are researched in isolation, which never shows itself in nature. So automatically we're just kind of trying to measure and research these single wavelengths of light under these, like in these laboratories when kind of people are exposed to fluorescent blue light. So this is like, already the results are skewed. So this is, to kind of long-windedly kind of put this together, I think it's good starting at the very beginning, and realizing how it kind of all comes back to the mitochondria. And this is where we see a lot of things start to improve when we can improve mitochondrial health. So Initially, you're talking about 50, 40 drops, upwards of 110 drops or so. So if you're taking anywhere from like 100 to 110, just to kind of preface, this is about 50 to 60 milligrams or so, 50, 55 milligrams of methylene blue, just so people kind of have that number.
Yeah.
And then of course, if you're going down to about 30 to 40, this is about, 15 to kind of 20 milligrams, right? So this is really important because in the research, we're looking at about kind of 8 to 32 milligrams on a daily basis tends to be the safest. And then for those who are hypersensitive, maybe upwards of 24 milligrams. If you're doing...
Quick question before I forget. How do you know you're hypersensitive to it?
You can just tell, like, if you react kind of like, if you feel the benefits off of like 4 drops. Like some people tell us they took 2 drops and they're feeling like super alerts. I think some of it could be placebo, but sometimes you know your body best. And if you really channel into that intuition and what you feel, then that's typically, you just know. Like, you know from previous responses to medication as a kid, previous supplementation, like new things that you introduce, you just know that you respond fast. So like some people will say they feel benefits off 4 to 8 drops, which we don't really see in the research. It's too small of a dose to even like kind of study. So if people are feeling it off 8 drops, which people do, then that's about 4 milligrams, right? So maybe like you want to stay within that threshold for a little bit, see how your body does, and start to go from there. When you do higher doses, it's way better to do that kind of sparingly, like save it for your big output days. And like, I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but it's nice to kind of tie this back into sunshine and exercise afterwards too.
Okay.
So with methylene blue, it works on the mitochondria. So kind of giving a little bit of its history, which I don't know if we really covered in depth last time.
I don't think so.
Originally founded, so here's like the kind of like cliff notes. 1876, founded by a German scientist. This was a dye used to stain blue jeans. This was like a textile dye. 1891 becomes the first medicine used to treat malaria, which is of course the parasite that's often transmitted through mosquitoes in tropical areas. So now we find that it's anti-parasitic. There's some research to show that it was used to treat syphilis. And then it became the first antibiotic. And it was used in like World War II. And a lot of fighter pilots would use methylene blue to fend off different infections. This later became the first medicine approved by the FDA. So this is the very first medicine approved. And this was the backbone of antibiotics and a lot of these medicines carrying forward into modern medicine for what we see today. Later, we start to see that it improves mood and cognition a little bit. So then they start to research that aspect. Methylene blue is a MAO inhibitor. So it's a monoamine oxidase, is an enzyme that prematurely breaks down serotonin and dopamine. So we have methylene blue coming in to mitigate this enzyme from breaking it down. So we see this increase in serotonin and dopamine naturally in the brain. So this then became, in like the 50s or so, became the first kind of backbone for antidepressant and antipsychotic medication, which is still now being studied in higher doses to treat depression and bipolar disorder. So it's still here in the research hundreds of years later. So from all of this, that's the biggest kind of contraindication, which I'll say again, is if you're on SSRIs, if you're on antidepressants and SNRIs, antipsychotics, these kind of drugs, it's contraindicated with methylene blue. So we don't want to be taking it if you're on any type of serotonergic medication. Methylene blue on its own will not cause serotonin toxicity. There's no research that it will. So that's typically, I think, where we're a bit short is perhaps it could, we don't know. But there's no cases that's ever happened alone.
Go on.
Okay, so now we're getting into, in the late 50s, early 60s is when they started to see mitochondrial health being impacted. So as we know, the mitochondria, it is what we see on Instagram, like what we see online. It's like the trope, the powerhouse of the cell. And it absolutely is. Like, this is how we produce that ATP. This is how we produce our life force, our energy, through these little tiny power plants in the cell. So what they found is that methylene blue will insert its way into the cell, and it has an affinity for the mitochondria, so it finds them. And as it does that, it enters in to how we make energy. So within the mitochondria, you have the electron transport chain. So there's 5 complexes, which are just proteins. Complex 1, 2, 3, and 4 produce our energy. Complex 5 is like the kind of final turbine in a water dam that kind of accumulates all the pressure and then spits out energy, spits out ATP. So with all this, it's kind of a mouthful, but complex 1 is your NAD. This is like your NADH. So a lot of people are doing NAD drips. Right? So this is like $200, $300, $400 that people are spending on a regular basis to get these things. But there's not enough research to even show that NAD on its own will repair the mitochondria, will repair complex 1. So if you're very healthy and you have the money to want to kind of like put NAD drips into your bloodstream, you're going to notice some great benefit for sure. But how long does it last? Maybe a week tops, right? Then you kind of have to do it again. But when we see something like Methylene Blue, it also has been shown at a much cheaper rate to just actually donate electrons to complex 1 to help bypass even inflamed parts of the mitochondria and donate electrons to complex 4, which is cytochrome C oxidase. So complex 4 is very important in nature because it gets its name from cyto meaning cell and chrome meaning light. So this is what also the photons and red light donate electrons to. So when you're seeing that sun over the horizon, it's a deep red sun on a sunrise or sunset. Those are long wavelengths of light penetrating your skin. They go deep into the tissue, they bounce around within you, and they get picked up by complex 4, literally donating free electrons to this transport chain. And that's your physical energy. So this is why it's good to combine red light with Methylene Blue, because Methylene Blue also donates to complex 4. So there's a lot of jargon, donated electrons, and all these kind of like words that we're throwing around. But typically what it means is that you are giving energy to this turbine. And as this turbine is picking up speed, it's producing more energy. It's producing more ATP. That ATP is getting rid of brain fog. It makes us go that much harder in the gym, makes us run that much further, it makes us speak that much better. It does everything for us, right? When we stop producing ATP, then we die. So this is what like cyanide is, for example. Cyanide is a mitochondrial poison, and Methylene Blue to this day is one of the only cures for cyanide. Again, like, I don't know who's going to be poisoning anyone with cyanide these days, but
Hopefully nobody.
yeah. So that is definitely one of the medicines that they still use in hospitals to this day, which is really fascinating.
So I guess my question is, like, I've felt the effects of Methylene Blue. I truly think it works. I know it works. I've seen it work. Why is it not more popular?
That is a great question.
Because it has the history, and it seems like it has the studies and the literature to be proven, and the long history of that. It's not even just like a clinical study for like a year or two. But yet, we hear, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like, take your creatine, your vitamin D, vitamin C, and stuff like that. And it's just like, I've only heard of Methylene Blue probably a year ago. Probably a year ago. And like, I would say I'm pretty like hip to the supplementation game. And honestly, as of now, I would take this for as long as I live. So I just don't understand why, like, even like our team have seen huge benefits. Some of the members who've bought it have seen great benefits. They love it. So I just don't understand why it is not more like publicized. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so first and foremost, you can't really make too much money off Methylene Blue as a kind of whole, like the FDA, Big Pharma, a lot of these things. I personally think there's silencing around Methylene Blue that we've seen in the past. Methylene Blue is also a synthetic. Most people are a bit wary of synthetics, which I 100% was. Before. Like I remember reading about Methylene Blue years ago, and I was like, oh, this is very interesting, but I wasn't at that time ready to try it. Once I kind of exhausted all my resources and I was like so burnt out and fatigued, thyroid issues, all this shit that I put my body through. And then I tried Methylene Blue a couple years back and I was like, wow, like this is insane. For me, experience is the highest form of knowledge. I think that goes for everyone, right? We want to experience, and that is how we truly understand things. But I want to research the shit out of something before I start ingesting it. Whether it's
Sure.
creatine, I want to know the ins and outs of what it does. Sometimes I even want to placebo myself into really feeling the benefits. Like if we're taking something new, I want to meditate on it a little bit, just like envision what you want to get out of this. And with Methylene Blue, at this point, we have over, I think, 20,000 scholarly articles published on Methylene Blue and its efficacy. There's the body of research is there. It's been around forever. It's something that was unfortunately kind of like, we stopped seeing it less as an antibiotic when we found penicillin, right? Penicillin is something that we also have a massive antibiotic resistance to as well. Not just in your lifespan, but passing through generations. Like bacteria don't always want to die, right? And they're starting to learn. So the amount of penicillin it took to cure someone of an ailment in, say, the 50s, 60s versus what it is now is like a massive difference in dose, like a tenfold difference. So our bacteria are becoming more resistant, but regardless, that was kind of like shunned away from, like we found into penicillin, so we found something a bit more new and better. We found pharmaceutical SSRIs and antidepressant medications, so Methylene Blue was later on not used. The side effects of blue pea and things like that, people didn't want, right? Like you go to big pharma or something like that, or pharmaceutical company, and you get a prescription for Methylene Blue, or one turns your pea blue, or you get like lithium, for example, for like antidepressant medication. One has so much better effects, but also from the consumer standpoint, it's just like, I don't want blue pea, I don't want a blue mouth, like I don't want just little things like that can really change the sellability of a product going forward. It is still very niche. There's still a lot of research on it. I think there's many different avenues, but I think with social media now especially, a lot of people are spreading the word very fast. The one thing that I would be aware of is people in the space who once got on the bandwagon of Methylene Blue and who are now kind of switching their narrative to go to the fear-mongering aspect. I think this is a big piece of what I'm really starting to notice within not only just the health space, but everything, especially how we know the news is fear-mongering and things of that nature. But people who switch opinions very fast on these things, it's kind of buyer beware of that aspect, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, why do you think they're switching it?
I think it's
just not I know this sounds maybe rude, but is it just because they can't make money off of it? Do you think, or is it just why such a turn?
From an influencer perspective, novelty. I think novelty in capturing just an audience is a lot of fear-based people, and I don't have to name drop. Like I think we know, we can see like. Anytime they make a post, it's like some massive influencer and it's just like, this is what's wrong with coffee. This is what's wrong with this. And it's like, why are we only talking about this in the West? And no one is really talking about this elsewhere. Like in the EU, in different parts of Asia, it's like no one really gives a shit. But over here, there's a lot of fear-mongering. A lot of fear-mongering. I can go on that kind of rabbit hole for a long time, but like for what I know about Methylene Blue is that like, I've tried, I've had the experience, thousands of others have. It's been around for well over 100 years in the research, like 20,000+ papers published on this stuff. And it is like, it's antidote for when you need it, so people use it in different aspects. And I think like, this is one of the only thing that blends both worlds of the holistic space and Western medicine. There's not really many other things that actually like, you'll see naturopaths prescribing or, just biohackers kind of alike. And then you go to a hospital and they treat you for carbon monoxide poisoning or cyanide poisoning with Methylene Blue, it's one of the only things that kind of crosses that line, which is really unique.
Well, I feel like biohackers though in general always are trying to look for that next thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like they were like, but this is what I'm now trying. So how long have you been using Methylene Blue for?
About 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
And you've never had like a bad reaction, a bad experience?
Not once.
Not once? And if you feel comfortable, what's the highest you've ever tried to go to, if you feel comfortable saying that? So there was a time when I was doing very high doses and that was like maybe 150 to 200 drops in that range. I don't really remember. But I'm pretty sure it was close to 200 because I wanted to take about 100 milligrams worth. And what was the scenario that you put yourself into to experience that dosage?
just be out in the sun, because I knew from research too, it works better in conjunction with UVA and UVB radiation and red light. And then also like the amount of melanin that you can produce from the sun, the sweating, the heat, all these things just work better for just mitochondrial function. And I felt fantastic. But also like, I think with everything, it's good to be responsible.
Yes.
For what we see is like, to be safe with methylene blue, if you want to take this every day, go for it, right? But you take it in small doses. But the thing is like, I personally don't take anything every day other than just the food I consume, the water, just very simplistic. There's not really many supplements I'll take every single day for 365 days of the year.
Yeah, so you don't mind taking like a washout period where like you just like you don't use it for maybe 2, 3. I know we talked about it before, but I think you said you like more of the Eastern medicine kind of method in the sense of like maybe 5 days, Monday to Friday, and maybe Saturday, Sunday, you just kind of wash up here. You just don't take anything.
Yeah, it can be dependent on your schedule.
Yep.
It can just be what you're feeling, because the thing is, it's not like when you stop taking methylene blue, all the effects are gone. Like that is repairing the mitochondria as well. So you're going to get benefits down the road.
I guess my question too is like, so how long, if you did it for 4 or 5 days, how long is it really in your, I guess that depends on how much you take, but how long is it in your system for? Like when your pee turns back, does that mean it's completely out of your body?
Not necessarily. Like it has a half-life of about 12 and a half hours. So like typically if you take it in the morning, you're going to notice by the end of the day or the next morning, you're going to have the highest concentration of blue in your urine. That's how it just gets excreted. So yeah, it's like, it really depends. I think it can stay in your mitochondria for a few days after, depending on your dosage. If you're taking it in low dosage every single day, like low and slow approach, and you're doing that for say a year, like it's still going to accumulate in your mitochondria and it's going to be there for like weeks afterwards, I'm sure. I don't know the specific time frame because it's very unique for the person's lifestyle and metabolism and all these things and the health of their mitochondria, the state. Yeah.
All right, guys, we'll get back to the podcast, but I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to our sponsors, Northern Hydration. So it's a Canadian company. They sell electrolytes. They have lemon, they have lime, they have orange. My favorite is the orange. It's one of the best flavors in my opinion. But use our discount code GetAlpha10. Other than that, let's get back to the episode. So it seems like most of the people that we talk to who's bought it and tried it, their sweet spot is around 30 to like 40. It seems like that's where, and even when I've given it to my mother and everybody, they're like 30, 40 seems like they see that difference and stuff like that. So it seems like that's kind of like the number everybody seems to be reaching at. Drops. Yeah, sorry. The 30. Yeah,
30 to 40 drops.
Yeah, the drops for sure. So it seems like that's the sweet spot for everybody.
Yeah.
So okay, I want to ask you about it with the sun a lot more. So Stacy went on a trip. Would you like to explain your story?
I burn very easily. I'm very white and very fair. And I've been going to Florida for years. And then I did exactly what you had suggested, which was I took the drops before I went out for a run in the morning, no sunscreen. And this is the first time in my entire life I have not burned.
I love it. So I remember you sending a message about that and I was like really excited because it's so nice to hear because it also gives you that kind of like almost like metabolic flexibility in a sense. Like you can still reap the rewards from the sun, but also just not get pulverized by it and get sunburning, like get a burn. This is like, for me, like again, like I like to explain things very long-windedly because it's like to get the whole message.
Yeah.
But I think it's really understanding like what sunlight does for us. So if we like really kind of think about it, like especially here in the northern latitudes, like we don't get any vitamin D from the sun from like October through March. Like the sun is not at a high enough elevation to get vitamin D. So we don't have any kind of exposure to that. And we can have red light from the sun. Getting cold is really good for the mitochondria and whatnot. But if the sun is not at an elevation of about 35 degrees, UVB does not cross through the atmosphere. UVB is how we synthesize vitamin D and also how we regulate like melanin production, appetite, metabolic rates, hunger and satiety signals, all these good things, which of course is another rabbit hole for sure. So when you think about it, we're not really getting any vitamin D, and we're not getting adequate sunshine and light exposure in the winter months. Then when it comes summer, we lather up in sunscreen, we hide from the sun. We're told by a lot of dermatologists and doctors to avoid it at all costs, right? Because you're going to get melanoma. Like, it's really bad for you. And it's like, man, the sun is like our father. It's like, it's there. Like, there's ancient folklore and religious texts all centered around the sun, and ancient Egypt and all these things. We know the sun is what gives us all our food and all our energy. And we all have the potential to absorb literally nutrients and vitamins from it, and to help improve nitric oxide and all these things. So the sun is at the forefront of our healing process. But why would we kind of send that message when you can't make money off the sun? Right? This is another kind of, again, rabbit hole because it's free medicine. So, but the thing is that if we are fairer skinned, we don't want to just kind of go, there's what's called Fitzpatrick skin types. So like if you're like Danish, Scottish descent, English, Irish, typically you'll have a skin type, Fitzpatrick skin type of like a 1, which is like burns really easily, just really pale.
That's me.
But this was also the biological advantage from ascending north, right? As humans and as Homo sapiens came from Africa, we had so much melanin in our skin, and that's natural sun protection. And as we started to evolve north, we started to get into colder latitudes or colder regions. The sun wasn't hitting our skin. So we had to figure out a way to get as much vitamin D in as little time as possible from the low amounts of sun we had. So we depigmentized. And then, so as we got fairer skinned, we're able to get more vitamin D from the sun in shorter time. So the thing is that we're more likely to burn when we're wearing sunglasses, because your eyes are perceiving darkness constantly. And this is like your biggest way to produce melanin is through the eyes. This is, in the environment. And you can think about this in reverse too, where it's like you're in pitch black, 2 a.m., someone flips on the lights, and then all of a sudden your eyes are just like, like it's invasive, and you feel stimulated. It's circadian biology. So if you're more likely to burn if you're wearing sunglasses, you're more likely to burn if you're sleeping in past the early mornings of red light, because red light prepares your body to produce more melanin in your skin. You're more likely to burn if you're eating more omega-6 fatty acids. So I know we mentioned Taco Bell a lot. I'm sure their food isn't the best for
No, it is not.
deep fried foods, right? And again, like this is here and there is fine, but if it's a constant kind of piece in your diet, you're not prioritizing omega-3s and omega-9s, or like oleic acid, then you're going to have that accumulation of oxidation in your skin, and you're more likely to burn. So there's different factors. And then also there's something called a solar callus, which a lot of doctors and people in the space talk about too, where you can increase your ability to tan just solely by giving yourself more time in the sun, and you can absorb more sun. So if you can go 5 minutes in the sun and not burn, fully exposed, no sunscreen, perfect. Go for 5 minutes. Maybe the next day do 6 minutes. And like you can really increase the callus, just like what you get on your hands when you lift weights. It takes time. So if you are in your home all day in the winter and you never see the sun, you never get any UV radiation, and then you go to Barbados or Bahamas and you vacation for a week, burnt to a crisp, back at home in the office, you're working 9 to 5 under blue light, never seeing natural lighting, like that's how you get melanoma. This is how you get different rates of cancer, because your melanocytes are really just struggling to stay alive. You're pulling melanin from the skin, you're pulling it from deeper regions of the brain. So the whole thing is like we need to, and then the last one we talked about like just making a balance and making health more affordable. Get your feet on the earth, get free electrons from the earth, get out in the sun, get your natural light environment. Like literally, like I'll take my laptop and just put it in a cardboard box and just like lie in a prone position and just type so it doesn't overheat. And like things like that, just to get out in natural light is going to better prepare our body to produce more melanin, our natural sunblock, and all those good things. But super long-windedly to the methylene blue piece.
It's okay.
Because this is, I think, super important to really like touch upon, to not fear the sun, to just don't abuse it, right?
Yeah, but be responsible.
Be responsible for sure. But if we are looking at how melanin is produced, the melanocyte is what produces melanin. The melanocytes depend on your mitochondria. If you have slow and sluggish mitochondria, your melanocytes are not being produced properly, you're not going to produce more melanin from the sun. Like your UV radiation is just going to make you burn, like more readily available. So if you are increasing methylene blue consumption, methylene blue, as we talked about earlier, enters into the cell, donates electrons, but as it accumulates, it acts as an antioxidant because it mitigates what's called ROS, reactive oxygen species. Sunburning is ROS. That's reactive oxygen species. So you're literally having mitochondria that's better adept at producing melanin. And then you're also having an accumulation in your skin cells to be able to absorb sunlight more efficiently to prevent the burning. So like this, there's definitely more research that needs to go into this area, but you're literally counteracting the amount of stress that your skin is going through, and you are making your mitochondria work more efficiently to allow melanin to be produced easier. So like that's kind of the long-winded answer of being like, okay, well, methylene blue enters into the mitochondria, makes it work better, and then absorbs sunlight and UV radiation more efficiently. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Like I'm kind of going in like some deep dives here. So
No. This is why you're here. I feel like you got to take a sip. Take a sip.
yeah.
Wet the palate. So I guess the next thing I kind of want to go to is like age range to like try it out. What's the youngest that you would responsibly say like somebody could try them out? You know, if one of our listeners is like 20 years old or 19 years old, would you suggest them try it or wait a little bit?
I think the age range is 18.
18?
18 is what it is in the research. There's some like, you know, like if you walk into like a cannabis store, for example, like some people say like, oh yeah, you have to be 19 to purchase. But there's a lot of research to support that you should be kind of smoking cannabis after the age of 25, like when your frontal lobe fully develops.
Yeah.
So it's really up to the user. I don't think you need it that young. Like,
Oh, okay.
like your body, when you think back to just being in your 20s, and then you can just toss your body around. You can just do whatever the hell you wanted.
Yeah.
And you would just regenerate and heal so much faster. And then people always talk about like, oh, you hit 30, hit 35, and now all the pains and aches come in. Your body's it doesn't mean to not take care of your body back then, but it means it regenerates very fast. So the body only wants to heal. We just get in its own way. Mentally, physically, we are creating kind of roadblocks for it. So if someone's like 20 years old and they want methylene blue, someone's like 18, I'm like, what's the real issue here? I think you need more natural light. I think you need a red light panel, at least if you're not out in the sun. So if you're working at your desk all day and can't get outside, you're on meetings, like red light shining on your skin, right? Even if it's shining on your legs, the mitochondria will still cross communicate with the ones in your brain. So I think it's natural light environment. I think it's cleaning up your diet. I think it's getting your feet on the earth, spending more time outside and spending less time on devices, because the depletion of dopamine is really what's making a lot of us sick, and comparing ourselves to people that we've never even met before is a huge piece as well, like to affect dopamine. That's again, a whole other topic, but
yeah, that's
you can use methylene blue at 18 and 20 according to the research.
But you just would say dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, I think you got to clean up your lifestyle first before introducing methylene blue.
Fair. Okay, and then next is so explain how it helps with the gut health.
So that is this is an antibacterial. So we have seen research with methylene blue to kill off a lot of bad species of bacteria, but not necessarily harming the good species, which is really important. Regular antibiotics for what we see now, like say if we're taking erythromycin or whatever it may be, there could be some benefit. Like if you read like Ray Peat, like he would use some antibiotics as like almost like to increase cellular senescence, to increase like an anti-aging piece as a part of a protocol, and then refeed the microbiome after. I'm not a huge fan of that. I don't think we necessarily need to kill everything and wipe everything out, but with methylene blue, that's something that can target a lot of just bad bacteria in general. So we see anti-candida research, like E. coli and salmonella, anti-parasitic. So literally as an antibacterial, you're killing off a lot of bad bacteria. And this is when some people will say to me, depending on where their gut's at, I took methylene blue and I've been like just crapping my pants. Like I've just been nonstop.
Just going.
And or feeling GI distress when you increase your dose, because you're literally killing off some bad bacteria as well. So I don't necessarily use this as an antibiotic. Like I just use it for mitochondrial medicine for what its main research is, to produce more ATP and energy. And when the mitochondria are working great, we can also start to work on the gut microbiome separately. And we talked about like human milk oligosaccharides and good prebiotics like that, like HMOs. Working on the gut simultaneously with the mitochondria would be like your way. But I wouldn't see this as necessarily your main gut microbiome shift, but it certainly does help, because I know we definitely have, a lot of us have some bad bacteria in there that we need to purge.
To purge. So explain mitochondria to people, because I feel like everybody knows that word. We all know it's important. We know it's like the powerhouse cell. But explain, like in the simplest terms, what exactly mitochondria does. Like, what is it?
So the simplest way is that it produces our energy. It produces ATP. And when we think of ATP, ATP again is what keeps us alive. It's what keeps us active and going. When our mitochondria is sluggish and they're not really working too well, then unfortunately they're not going to be able to produce as much energy. So I think with overall, like when we think about energy production, so it's like a little bit distracting.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's better for the audio anyway.
Okay.
All good. Sorry, guys, if you're listening at home. Just a little bit of water from upstairs. That's okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So the mitochondria works to produce energy. The health of your mitochondria, you produce more energy. And when the mitochondria is inflamed through a lot of different stressors that we have in our life these days, whether it's, pesticides and just omega-6 fatty acids, like deep fried kind of oils and refined foods, constant influx of refined sugars, lifestyle stress, like way too stressed at work. Blue light. Blue light is a massive proponent for mitochondrial dysfunction.
And when you say blue light, like where exactly should you watch out for the blue light? Like in an office?
Yeah, like fluorescent lighting, things of that nature. So when you think about it, when you look at red and blue light in the spectrum, there was a really interesting study that they took flies, bees, mice, and humans. And what they did is they gave them a glucose tolerance test, which means you're just pumped with an insane amount of glucose and seeing what the effect on blood glucose is after. If it really, really spikes, then it means like your insulin isn't working the best. If it is pretty stable afterwards and it like regulates pretty quickly, it means you're in a good shape. So what they did with those is they gave a glucose tolerance test to all these different subjects and they shined them with red light. So near infrared and infrared light. Their blood glucose dropped by 30%. Like it was like 27.7%. So a massive shift in their body's ability to just like improve glycolysis, to use sugars and utilize sugars. They pumped them with blue light as well. Same thing, glucose tolerance test. Glucose spiked way, way more than it should. So blue light is literally just causing dysfunction in the mitochondria and it's not able to utilize glucose properly. And then we just have this massively spiked correlation to type 2 diabetes and all these different things. So blue light, when we look in the atmosphere, as the sun's crossing the horizon, those long wavelengths of red are crossing through. So we see that deep red infrared light really charging up the cells. And then as it starts to rise up, we start to see that the sun has less atmosphere to cross through. And then the blue light, the particle itself, is reflecting all through the molecules of the atmosphere and like oxygen and nitrogen, and it just scatters. So the sky is extremely blue, right? So I'm talking about why the sky is blue, of course.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So that blue light is typically highest at midday, at solar noon.
Yeah.
That's when we get the most blue light.
Okay.
But when we are under screens, LEDs, fluorescent tube lighting at work, constantly from morning, first thing, through late hours of the night, binge watching Netflix at 2 a.m, for example. We've all been there. If you're not wearing blue blockers, you absolutely should. And we're the first time that we are separating ourselves fully from natural light. And that first time our body is experiencing massive amounts of blue light late at night, which is a direct proponent of just potentiating cortisol and stress levels. So that is typically blue light. LEDs, screens. It's okay to use them during the day. Definitely protect yourself if you can like go outside or get natural light through a window, use blue blockers, protect them ourselves.
A lot of phones too, like I've used it a couple of times, is they have the dark screen, there's a setting on your phone to turn it off.
Yeah.
And I find that actually that does help, especially if like you do end up being on the phone or whatever after, because you can set it where it turns off, the blue light turns off after like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. And I feel like little things like that helps a lot.
For sure. Yeah. Using blue blockers if you can.
Is there a certain brand that you like, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter as long as they're not kind of like the super cheap ones. I think I have a pair from Bond Charge. Like
so you say super cheap, like how expensive? Like what's a good range of price range for
They
it?
typically go for like $100, $150.
Yeah, that's like normal.
That's like normal.
Okay, I've never had them, so I don't know how expensive.
It's a good investment. You can get like these yellow lenses. It kind of makes everything look kind of sunny and vibrant.
Okay.
That blocks about 70% of blue light, which is important because like when we talk about the mitochondria, your mitochondrial density, the highest density is in your retina. Blue light directly impairs the mitochondria. So this is why we see screens, televisions, things like that. Constant exposure to blue light will cause macular degeneration. Like it really deteriorates the eyes. So we want to protect it as much as possible. So you can get the yellow lenses, blocks about 70%. That's what I typically use every day. And you can also get red lenses, which changes, of course, everything super red. But it blocks 100% of blue light, which is important for like our circadian biology later on in the evening. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What pairs well with methylene blue, supplementation wise?
That's also a good question. I know a lot of people take it with vitamin C. This helps kind of reduce the amount of blue they see in their urine.
Oh yeah?
It reduces. So
I feel like people though now who take it, they like, it's almost like a trophy to like see the pee. You're like, it's working. It's almost like a placebo, like in the sense of like, it's in it, it's working, I'm in it. I like everybody that we know that's been trying it, they're like, they come in, they're like, my pee's blue. My pee is green, and they're happy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like it's like almost like they look forward towards it.
It's fun. It's also it's a good indicator too, because like if your pee is like you've been taking the same dose every day and then one day your pee is super blue or one day your pee is like just clear and it's not blue anymore. It's like maybe your body's utilizing more of that methylene blue, like your mitochondria are under a higher stressor, a higher load where that's actually just being further utilized. So your body's going through it much quicker. If your pee is constantly navy blue, then maybe it's a good indicator just to like, chill out a bit. Have like,
have less drops.
Yeah. You can scale down your dose. Like we can use that. Like I think there should be a blue tinge. It naturally gets excreted through the urine. So it's perfectly normal for that to happen. But yeah, it's like, that's, definitely a fun piece. So when we talk about like pairing it, people pair with vitamin C, but you can pair with other mitochondrial enhancements like CoQ10, for example. So coming back to like some people pair it with NAD as well. Like if they're getting an NAD drip, they're taking methylene blue, which is like.
Could you take methylene blue in an NAD drip? Like if for some odd reason some place offered it with their bag that they put in, is that possible?
You would. I don't know if it's in Canada yet. In the US, I'm pretty sure they do. But I think for methylene blue IV drips, you would probably feel like super jittery and like not from, of course, caffeination or anything, just the stimulation of it.
Yeah.
They do IV drips in the States. I think there's a company that's bringing them to Canada in Toronto, I'm pretty sure. But I've never seen them kind of combined together in my knowledge. Probably in like California somewhere, I imagine.
California does all the fun stuff. But you said if some people take methylene blue with a drip, with a drip when they're going to go get a IV drip.
Yeah, you can take that together for sure. Because again, like NAD is not necessarily going to repair the mitochondria, but methylene blue can. So what happens is that NAD feeds complex 1. This kickstarts the whole process. Right? But if you are in poor health, if you are inflamed, we need to get to the base root of inflammation, right? NAD is not going to fix your lifestyle. So methylene blue can help give us that edge, especially when we're exposed to a lot of like contaminants in the water and our food source and all these things, right? So that can help repair it. What CoQ10 does, CoQ10 is almost the facilitator that helps the passing of electrons through each complex. It's like the guide, just guides them through to the end for them to be released. So again, like someone with super inflamed mitochondria can take CoQ10. They may see like a slight benefit, but it's not getting to the necessary root, right? Like CoQ10 should all be a parts of our diet, eating organ meats, things like that. It's a bit tougher, of course, these days. So taking a supplement is not frowned upon, and it can be very beneficial. So yeah, I think like if you are going to maximize that, you take methylene blue for complex 4 and for just healing abilities of the mitochondria. You take NAD for complex 1 and CoQ10 to kind of help facilitate everything smoothly. That alone is a massive mitochondrial elixir. That plus red lights, plus grounding, like you're literally just supercharging your cells. And you start to notice a difference like pretty rapidly, and you don't need to do this all the time if you're doing everything together.
What do you think about those, like, they're like face masks, and it's like red light in the face mask?
Yeah.
Have you heard of those?
Yes, I actually have one.
Oh, yeah. So, like, do you find that that's better than just like a whole lamp? Like a whole...
I prefer the panels.
The panels, sorry.
Yeah, I don't really use the face mask too often. It's like
What's the purpose of that opposed to the panel?
the panel's stronger. The panel's stronger. The face mask is only localized to the face. The skin on the face is thinner. Like the power of the kind of LEDs aren't nearly as strong, I find. But it's just good for just cellular regeneration, right? And that's like, again, all comes back down to the mitochondria. Like that is when we want to get down to the nitty gritty and see where it all begins, it's there. Once that's optimized, then we can start, they go through a process of mitophagy. So literally just renewing themselves, repopulating. This is what's going to increase like all these amazing benefits and just cellular hydration and red light itself has also been shown to just increase like hyaluronic acid, like things that we use topically these days to increase skin health. But for a panel, you're going to get like a stronger and more spread out dose as well. Like if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me to ask you, what's like the latest can you take methylene blue, or it doesn't even matter? Like, can you take it at 8 p.m.?
Yeah, you can do that for sure. Like it's a good question, but this is also where it depends on your person and like your reactivity to it. So it's not a stimulant, but the increase in energy production can keep you awake. And some people will take it if they're high performing athletes, for example, and you're constantly putting your body under states of stress. You take it at nighttime. Some people like take a little bit, like maybe like 8 milligrams or something, and they find that they have like way better recovery during their sleep. So
That's interesting.
sleep is like where you recover, of course.
Yes.
So if we can like double down on that recovery aspect, then absolutely. I've experimented with it. If I take a low dose before bed, I'm good. If I take a higher dose, then I'm up. Yeah.
And that's why you suggested, in general, to take it like first thing in the morning, because it does kind of get the body to be more awake, use the day a little bit better than twice. But you also said that sometimes you separate it, right? The drops.
Yeah. So it depends on kind of if you're having a hard time waking up, methylene blue can really help for sure in the morning. What I typically like to do is like, say if I wake up at 7, for example, maybe I'm taking methylene blue at like 9. Because you get that initial cortisol that wakes you up. Maybe you have some coffee, you do your little routine, you shower, whatever it may be. And then methylene blue is coming in to kind of kickstart the rest of your day. And maybe I'm working at that time. Or going to the gym. Some people like to take it at that cortisol slump. So like midday, when we start to notice like our energy is going down, cortisol starts to decline, we can take it for that midday energy boost as well. Those are the 2 best times to take it. You can take it both times for sure. Sleep, it's anecdotal. Depends on the person. Yeah.
And if you take it for like a slump, can you take the answer is depends on the person, but the same amount of drops? So if like you took 30 in the morning, let's say you have like an energy slump at like 2 p.m., 3 p.m., take another 30 and that would be okay? Or
like are you talking about like you take another 30 drops at like 8 p.m. or 7 p.m. kind of that?
Yeah, sure. It's a little too risky.
Yeah, it really depends on the person. Like I don't think there's really like a right or wrong answer to that. It's like I think this is where we kind of have to experiment and know for ourselves what works best for us. Like that's coming back to that main point of like experiment. Like experimentation is the highest form of knowledge, right? Like your experience. You know? So yeah, like I think it's best to kind of just like ease your way into it. If you're thinking of taking 30 drops at night and you've never done that before, I'd say don't. I'd say take like 10 drops or less and just see how you do. And then you can kind of work your way up to that. But again, like I don't think it's necessarily necessary unless you're really active and you want to kind of increase recovery during sleep. Or if you're like a mouth breather at night and you're not taking in enough oxygen, then methylene blue can help carry oxygen through.
And then I see that you take it like directly on your tongue sometimes.
Yeah.
Is it better, like what, faster absorbing than taking it in water?
No, I don't think so.
That's just a preference.
There's few doctors that are specifically in the research of methylene blue that say that some say that you should take it in like a troche, like some companies do troches in the States, and it's just like a tablet that dissolves in your mouth and like let it dissolve and this goes straight to the brain kind of thing. And there's some doctors who say that it's supposed to hit your stomach acid, doesn't matter. And that like either way you're going to get the benefit and it's going to be in your system.
So it doesn't matter under the tongue, over the tongue.
Yeah. So I've never tried a troche. Like we can't really get a lot of troches here in Canada. And I usually wanted to experiment with higher doses. So I always just drop in my tongue. I find it's just easier. Like for me, just like drop it down, take a swig of water.
And you count each drop, like 1, 2, 3? Or you just do like 1 full dropper, 2 full dropper?
Before, when I first started methylene blue, I was more precise with it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know.
Yeah, of course.
So I was like, okay, 1, 2, 3, like kind of thing. But now it's just like, I'll take maybe 3, 4 droppers full and I'll just like fill it up and squeeze it in there.
Yeah, we find that people are just doing that now. Just like they work up to droppers.
Yeah.
Opposed to like just the drops.
Because like in our product, you're going to get like maybe 8 to 10 drops max in a dropper. So yeah, you're looking at like 4 to 5 milligrams per dropper. Yeah.
And then like, would you suggest to like try for like 3 months on it and then see for a good 2 weeks, like what are you feeling differently to see if you really have a difference? Do you think that's a thing you should do?
Yeah, like I don't necessarily give things like time frames. Like I'm more kind of like trying to get back into the intuitive space of it and just see how you feel generally. I think for everything, it's like take like a period. You can have a front loading period with methylene blue, but again, ease your way into it. I like going low and slow. So if you're taking like, you start off your very first time taking at like 4 drops to see how you do for that day. You didn't really feel anything, like, okay, then go to 8 drops the next day or something like that, right? You start to feel a little bit, go to 16 drops. That's 8 milligrams. That's typically the lowest dose you see in the research. And then as you start to go and you start to accumulate your dosing, then depending on how you feel, this could take 1 month, 2 months, 3 months until you feel like almost like yourself again. And then you can kind of start tapering off, or you can use it your way, which is like, I'm just going to like kind of take a higher dose on higher output days, like maybe 2 days a week, for example, and things like that's okay. I just, I think it's just like a lot of it's like up for interpretation. And like, of course, if the only thing to preface is that we're not taking higher doses every single day because like it's unnecessary. Like we don't need to, and, the higher dosing in the research typically comes at like a 2 to 3 day a week kind of sporadic piece. And then in higher doses, sometimes you can get so methylene blue is known as like a redox balancer. So it can go as like, it can donate electrons, act as an antioxidant, or it can actually accept electrons and act as a pro-oxidant, meaning it can accelerate kind of stress as a hormetic effect. So hormesis, if you're not familiar, it's just like your natural stress response, right? It's like that, like we said last time too, like that, or 110-year-old man in Sicily who's just drinking a beer and just tanned and stuff. It's just like the beer is like almost like a hormetic effect for him, perhaps, right? So it's a little bit of stress, not too much, but enough to kind of have the body to learn and open up new pathways of longevity. And that's kind of hormesis. So methylene blue can have that effect. But once you go too far and past the hormetic zone, then you're just in the danger zone. And that's like excessively high dosing for things. And that goes for alcohol, that goes for anything you're taking, So
you'll probably laugh at this, but people ask also, can you, I guess, add a flavoring system to it, or does that ruin the compound? Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the episode. I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to one of our sponsors for the podcast, Methylene Blue. You can find this at Paradigm Supplements. We like to use it here at the podcast just because it helps with gut health, immune system, ATP performance. Use code GETALPHA15 for a little bit of money off. Other than that, let's get back to the episode.
No, I think really the only thing with methylene blue to be careful of is temperature. Like you don't want to put it in boiling hot liquid or you don't want to freeze it. So keeping that kind of room temperature is fine. Like when I first started taking it, I didn't really enjoy the taste. And I was like, okay, everything's an acquired taste, you know? So I'm like, we can just build our way into it. But at first I was using like juice, like just like a regular fruit juice. And I would just drink it back with a straw and like you couldn't really taste it. Some people I know like make
that
it
doesn't
into a
ruin,
tea.
like, I know that's maybe silly, but that doesn't ruin like the effects of it or anything like that.
No, it's water and fat soluble. So, you know, some, as we know, like say if you're taking like a vitamin A supplement, right? It's fat soluble. So you should take it with like maybe a little bit of fat as a carrier. Taking vitamin C, it's water soluble. Just make sure you're having it with water. Methylene blue is both. So it doesn't matter. And yeah, it's just temperature really. It's the only thing.
Oh, so, okay, you can mix it with things. That's okay. You
Yeah.
can have a mixer.
So, some people I've seen put it in alcoholic beverages. I've seen,
What?
Yeah. But the only thing with
I
that,
don't know if I would suggest that one.
no, absolutely not. I think it's like pick one, you know, like
Yeah. I have mixed it one time with an espresso.
inside the espresso.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not on board with that one, but you do your thing. Yeah.
It never did it again.
Yeah.
Because,
Try it.
you know why? Because I was like,
Experimented.
oh, I forgot to. I was like, looking at both of them, I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And I tried it, and I was like, ugh. I definitely woke up, I'll tell you that. Ugh. What I feel too, Stacey and I were joking around, some days I feel like the flavor hits harder.
Yeah.
It's like sharper. Is there a certain reason why? Maybe just the amount of water that we put?
I would say that's dependent on your palate. Like maybe if you had like, I don't know, like maybe if you had coffee and then if you had it before or after coffee, you have that bitter palate or something. I actually have never heard that before, so I couldn't give like a...
sometimes,
It hits you like a truck.
yeah, sometimes we try, it's like, woo!
Yeah.
And sometimes it puts it back, like, I'm getting used to this.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good. It's interesting how like how you can get used to that flavor. A flavor of, I don't even know what that flavor would be called, of methylene blue.
I don't know. It's like,
I want to say inkish, but I don't want to disrespect it.
it's funny because I've had people like make fun of the taste in front of me and they like thought I would be offended. And I'm like, this is just a molecule, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's not about like, it's like judging the molecule. It's just allowing it to be what it is. And this is the way it tastes. And like, I think we definitely, when I come back to like, everything's a refined taste or something, like the palate is trainable for these things. Like, it's the same thing with methylene blue. Like if we're constantly used to sweet, methylene blue is going to taste awful. Right? But if we're constantly like exposing ourselves to bitter compounds, then methylene blue will be bearable for sure. And like to this point where I don't even like mind it at all, just drop it in my tongue, drink it back with water, and then typically like I'll have coffee. Like, but I don't like mixing like bitter compounds with it because it just makes like it just even more kind of intense. Yeah.
You talked a little bit about grounding before. I feel like everybody hears about grounding. I feel like a lot of people, they hear it and they're like, oh, you just put your feet on the grass. It sounds silly. Like, explain to them exactly like what that is.
Yeah. This is also another thing. Like we see a lot of like the red light panels coming through right in the winter. We see grounding mats coming in.
Yeah.
As well.
I've seen them. Yeah.
I'm sure you can use them in the winter. Like, but in the summertime, it's like, it's useless. I think I shouldn't say useless because I think
Talking about the pads are useless in the summertime.
yeah, like meaning that we should be outside, you know, like we should be.
Yeah. It's beautiful outside. You be outside.
Yeah, like go to a park, take your shoes off, no more rubber soles, just get your feet on the earth. So the earth is constantly giving out electricity. It's like giving out electrons, like constant flow of electrons are coming from the earth. And then that's what we're talking about methylene blue is it's donating electrons to the electron transport chain. And as it does that, it's neutralizing a lot of stress. It's acting as an antioxidant. It's producing more ATP. The photons from red light, these longer wavelengths, they penetrate our skin. They produce more electrons, more energy, more ATP. So what ends up happening is that when we're grounding, when we have mainly on the soles of our feet and our hands where we have a lot of these sweat glands that are open, when there's a little bit of sweat, that increases the charge of electricity, that increases the flow of electrons. So it's literally, you're more like, when you look at the skin difference between the sole of your feet and the top of it, maybe the top of my feet are a little hairy, bottom of the feet are just very smooth.
Yeah.
Those pores are open to accept free electrons from the earth. So when you're in salt water, for example, best time to charge. You're like right where the water hits the beach. It's wet sand. The electrons, the water's a great conductivity for it, and the salt as well. Like the salt is a massive electrolyte, as we know. So grounding is just very simple. It's just like we see these days, where it's like we're in this age right now where we need scientific papers to tell us that nature is good for us. Oh, did you hear about forest bathing? Like, oh, did you hear that, like, going...
What's forest bathing? You gotta tell me what forest bathing is.
Shirin-yoku, which is like, it was a book published in Japan where it's like, they'll just treat patients with like, go out into nature, walk into the forest, ground yourself in nature and allow yourself to heal. Ancient practices, considered woo-woo before, in a sense, in the scientific reductionistic space, is like, now we're starting to see like research papers that are telling us that nature is good for us. Like, hey, do you know like forest bathing or just walking into a forest for 20 minutes can reduce anxiety by this much percentage? It's just like, when I see that, I'm just like, who cares? Go outside. This should not even be a thing. We should not even be spending money to research that nature is good for us, because this is the first time in history that we have like just completely gotten rid of our natural environment, that we spend more time inside, that we wear rubber soles everywhere we go. We're in cities where there's no trees around, no nature. There were excessive amounts of blue light. So I think like just getting outside is like really the antidote to a lot of things. It's not going to be like, hey, I go outside and like, I went outside for 20 minutes and I don't feel any better. You know, it's like, you know, it needs to be a part of your lifestyle.
And you have to like surrender yourself to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like getting back to our natural elements, to play more, to have more fun outside, to like get out of this kind of stressful mindset. And I compare our culture a lot to the European culture as well. Like when you think of like someone like Spain, you know, you go out there and it's like from 11:30, 12 noon to like 3 o'clock, it's like siesta time. Like everyone's outside, they're on the ground, they're in parks. France, like same thing. You see a lot of people just like eating outside in the sun, in their natural environment, grounded on the earth, having conversation. Like this is what's going to keep us active and you know, like
vital,
just vital for sure. Right. And it's like, there's definitely a cultural difference that we have, because it's like, hey, you work 9 to 5, you got to commute for an hour to work. You got to commute for an hour back. You have 30 minutes for lunch and you didn't have time to make it because you had such a short day kind of thing, or such a long day. So you had a short window of rest. So now you have to go out and wait in line 15 minutes for food, scarf your food back, eat the rest at your desk, constantly under blue light. We're not meant for this environment. We're meant to embrace sunlight, to embrace the earth. But again, like, I think coming back to it, it's just like, who funds the research? You know, like who wants to spend all this money in funding, research that the sun is good for us, that, you know, our feet are on the earth and we're getting free electrons from the earth, when I can sell you something. And it's like, again, like, I think personally, the more I research and have failed many times in my health, it's follow the money, especially here in the West. Because I can assure you that every time, like when I was in Japan, or, you know, like third world culture is very different, of course, but like even just being in Europe, it's like, no one's talking about this kind of thing, right? Because their lifestyle is more supportive for the natural rhythms of the body. I don't know. I hope this kind of makes sense. Like, I don't want to sound kind of like this, conspiracy theorist. I just think like,
no, but there is a difference, though, right? Like in here, in especially in North America, like we like live to work, right? And that's a big difference in Europe, where people just like they work to live. They just live, right? And their lifespans, like we talked about it before, but people like they smoke, they drink. But they go for long walks and they have amazing like meals and memories with people, and for some odd reason, they live longer. Yeah. You know, and while here we're trying to drive places, we're picking up Taco Bell, we're going here, and like it's kind of, we're in rooms and we're like kind of like, you know, blue lights and stuff like that. Like I feel like that 100% reacts to like a lifespan.
Yeah, and the quick eats, the fast food is just a byproduct of the culture that we built, the work culture.
For sure. And you can just see how that happiness that they have. It's just so different.
Yeah.
They're just like so like everybody's like stressed, but it seems predominantly that they're just happier.
Yeah. And that's the name of the game too. Like if you can spend 75 years happy versus like 80, 85 years just like kind of miserable and grinding in the biohacking space. Not necessarily miserable, but like everything is like so precise and calculated and like control. And it's just like, well, like, I don't know. I would choose the route of just like kind of chilling and having like a nice community and being outside. And like we see those memes too. Now, I don't know if you've seen these, but like I'll have to like send you it, but it's like, it shows like this old Italian man, like just like super tan, drinking a beer, like bowl of pasta. And he's like 60 something, 70 something. And it shows like, what's his name? Brian Johnson, I think.
I was going to ask you about Brian Johnson. Yeah.
Like he's dedicating his whole life to just like, and all this money to.
Isn't he taking blood from his younger son and putting it inside of him or something like
He's
that?
vampires. He has got a blood boy.
Yeah. Well, that's weird. But yeah, isn't he doing that? Isn't his one of his goals to get like a better erection than his son?
Ooh, I did not hear that. But you know, man, like teach their own. Like, so I think
he's kind of. I watched his. I knew of him in general, obviously, but because he spends $1 million, no, $100,000 a day on biohacking. Can you type in how much does Brian Johnson spend a day on biohacking? He spent I think like $100,000 a day.
Yeah,
I think it's something crazy.
You know, and not to be so morbid,
Johnson.
I think it's BRYN.
Spend on biohacking a day. It was like something crazy.
Like it's not to discredit him at all because it's just like $2 million annually.
The slow aging.
Press that first one right there. How much does Brian Johnson spend on his? Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
there's worse ways to spend your money for sure. I'm not a fan of this type of lifestyle because I think like
it's manufactured.
Like his shirt that says "Don't die," right? Well, like for me, like I don't know, like I'm more in tune with like I think like the psilocybin experience. Like we are food for the worms. There's no escaping it, right? Like this is just like the last kind of experience that I had like on psilocybin was just like it was like this body's just a rental. Like this is it. Like what you see here is just how I've treated my body over the 32 years that I've been on this planet. The years I've abused it, the years I've treated it well. And like this is it. Like this is just a rental for our soul to kind of carry on wherever it goes. And it's like, so this physical form, like to see something like don't die, like, I don't know, it kind of makes me think of like, what are you scared of? What are you hiding from? You know, like insecurity, vanity, fear, and the fear of death is scary, but it's also like, I don't know. Like,
also, it's what makes you want to experience life better, right? Because like it's the same thing. Like if you know you're gonna pass in 10 years, usually you spend the best freaking time in those 10 years, right? And it's only because you know about that that timeline. Right? Opposed if you knew you're going to not die for another 120 years, you kind of just let the days go.
Yeah.
Right? I think it sounds silly, but it's just about being present.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Enjoying. You know what? It's funny because we had somebody on the podcast and he set a due date to commit suicide. And he set it 2 years?
2 years and 1 day.
2 years and 1 day, and he set everything up where his kids would get money and his wife would be taken care of. But in those 2 years, he decided to be the best husband and the best father. And he excelled so much where he got life back with it. Inadvertently, that made him actually want to live better. And it's crazy how that little pivot in like a time frame can make you enjoy, you know, a drink with your friend better. And one thing he was saying, he was pushing his son on the swing, and he knew like he was not going to experience this in another year, whatever the case may be after that. But he was going to go for 2 hours, but he was enjoying that moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very extreme, obviously, but I feel like we worry so much about other things that we can't experience the moment with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's very dramatic, like not dramatic, sorry, but very extreme. But I think honestly, I think that's a great lesson in the sense of like how somebody put a due date, but yet inadvertently taught them to be happier.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like that. It reminds me of that quote. I forget who said this, but it's like to see the light, you got to see how dark it can get. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you find yourself at rock bottom, then that's when you can kind of shift perspective a lot too.
Reframe.
And that reframing is super, super powerful to just like, cause like here, man, like I think we're just moving too fast, way too fast. All productivity, output, capital gains, right? And it's not to say that making money and being productive is not bad, because we're natural born producers. We want to produce, but we also want to consume. Mm-hmm. There's a balance there, right? We don't want to overly consume because that's going to lead us to gluttony and hedonism and obesity. But we don't want to overly produce because that's going to lead us to a shorter lifespan of just stress as well. Like everything in nature and everything in life has a biological pendulum, mm-hmm. right? So like, I think that's beautiful because it's just like, you're just witnessing life as it is. It's just flowing, and like, he's allowing himself to succumb to even just the most like beautiful things. And it's like, you have a child, you know, it's not about like putting an iPad in front of them just to escape. And you're like, oh, you try having kids. It's like, I get it, you know, but like, you also didn't have to. You have this responsibility to this soul, to this like little human that mm-hmm. looks up to you. And it's like, that time pushing on the swing is not just beneficial for him, I imagine, but super, super beneficial for that child.
Yeah, memories.
And like, that's what's so beautiful. So like, when we see a lot of biohacking, or when the natural nutrition space can go down the orthorexia piece, mm-hmm. where you're so healthy that like it ends up kind of backfiring on you. Mm-hmm. And that state of like, what I mean by this is like, you're constantly counting calories. You're constantly within this. And I was in this space like many years ago where it was like, I had to fast from, like from 12 to 8 exactly. Oh my God. Okay. Like I had a timer on my phone. Has it been 16 hours yet? Oh no, it's 15 hours and 36 minutes. Okay. Oh, I'm almost there. 24 minutes to go. Mm-hmm. And it's orthorexia. It was like, because nothing worked, I was trying to control all my variables, but rather than just allow my body to recalibrate and just get out of its way because it just wants to heal. Mm-hmm. So like when we see people spouting messages of like, you have to eat at this time, mm-hmm. you have to have this many calories, great for bodybuilding, great for physique, if that's the route you want to go in competing. But for the average human, it's unattainable because it's not something that we can do on a daily basis, and it's not sustainable, I should say. So like when we can start to relinquish control and tap back into the intuitive body, then this is when we can start to kind of not always contextualize everything in the frontal lobe, because we're frontal lobing everything these days, mm-hmm. but to like kick back and just be intuitive and feel into the felt sense experience. And that's why like when I see things like Don't Die and stuff, like when you take psychedelics, like you're in intuition, like you're feeling into all your gut feelings and anxieties and stressors, and you're just letting them go and just watching mm-hmm. and feeling what your body wants in that moment. And it just taps you in, gets rid of some of the garbage, and allows you to appreciate these like beautiful life moments. And not everyone needs it, but it's something that's truly like kind of woken me up to get out of that space of just constant control. Mm-hmm. Like I need to have everything in this order. And like you see this Instagram reels too, and like people are like, oh, like you have to like have this biohacking device, and then like you have to have breakfast at this time, and their breakfast looks like so amazing. And it's like, unfortunately, not everyone is in that kind of demographic of money to afford this. Right?
Well, I saw something, a hydrogen flask, like it makes hydrogen water. I think what was it? Have you heard of these?
I've not the flask, but I've seen hydrogen water bottles.
I think it's a water bottle flask. Maybe I'm just thirsty. But it takes about, you obviously put the water in, it takes about an hour, 30 minutes, it has a little timer, and you drink it. And I was like, oh, I wonder how much this costs. And it was $325 with a 10% discount. Yeah. But like, it's just like, that's a lot of water. That's a lot of money for water. And I understand, I've looked up the benefits of it and it seems promising, but like, that's a huge price point.
So this is like, I've never tried the hydrogen water bottles. I think for me, it's a bit too early to tell if these things are kind of gimmicky or these like,
that's the thing.
I've used hydrogen tabs in water. It's like molecular hydrogen.
Yes, I've heard of those. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've used, I think the only one I've seen really is like Dr. McCullough's or something like that. Like those ones I'll use from time to time. But like, I think before we do any of that stuff, like we need to get back to the basis of just water and hydration. Like when coming back to the mitochondria, you produce like 90% of your ATP from oxygen. Mm-hmm. Are you a mouth breather at night? Because that's going to affect you negatively. Mm-hmm. You know, like that's why people do like breathe right strips at night and mouth taping to make sure the oxygen's coming in. And so getting our breathing in, like deep breathing, like I saw this chiropractor a few years, like maybe 2019, 2020-ish. And I was really struggling at this time and I just really wanted an adjustment. And she like looked at me on the table and she's just like, I was waiting for a crack and she's like, no, we're not going to do an adjustment today. We're just going to breathe into your lower diaphragm, like, because you're chest breathing right now. And I'm like, I know how to breathe. Like, you know, I'm like, I want to just do the do the adjustment. And hearing that, I heard the right advice at the wrong time because it didn't serve me at that time. I just wanted some quick results. And that's what most people need to hear is they need to figure out their breathing first. When you're sitting at your desk, your breathing's all over the place. You know, like you need to like really channel the breathing. Your brain waves and breathing are off when you're watching movies to video games, all these things. You're scrolling on Instagram, your breath rate is super, super high. And we need that shallow breathing to come back into the belly and more consistent. Mm-hmm. So we can talk about that whole kind of, even the book Oxygen Advantage is a really, really good one. But that's your basis of like focusing on deep belly breathing. Water. Before you get that hydrogen flask, what type of water are you putting in that flask? Are you putting tap water in there? Because like that shit's filled with runoffs of antidepressant medication, medications that they flush, different chemicals, you know, like your SSRIs and antidepressants, fluoride, just like aluminum byproduct, all this shit's pumped into the water. All of these things can negatively affect us. But what our water treatment facilities do here, differently than say the EU, for example, they use reverse osmosis, UV treatments as well, like remineralization. Here we just pump it full of chlorine and chlorazamine to try to hope we kill off all the bad bacteria so no one gets sick. So first thing before a hydrogen flask, I'm thinking like, well, get a good water filter, you know, like
get a really good one.
Get like reverse osmosis and then mineralize it yourself. Like get some other filter that's going to help clean your water. Luckily for us, like where we live, like right down the road, there's a natural spring and we just like fill up jugs just from the spring. And it's been such a difference just in the switch of water. Like you can feel like your body's not working harder to process the chemicals in the water. Your liver's working a bit better. So like, I think before we get into these grounding mats, these hydrogen flasks, these NAD drips, we need to really slow down, take a look at our life and just think about like, okay, what's something that I can just do today that's going to benefit me? I need to focus on my breath, you know, and then again, like we use Methylene Blue because it's something that's affordable. It lasts a long time. Typically, if you're using a bottle slow and steady, super cheap, repairs the mitochondria and helps to kind of fend off a lot of the damage that you've been taking in from these pesticides, from our food, from the contaminants in our water supply, from the work life stress, from, you know, sitting down constantly. These are all stressors. So that's kind of one of the why I've become so fascinated with Methylene Blue as like a product of health. But it's like, get your feet on the earth, get some natural light in your eyes. And these are just small improvements that you can just do each and every day to just really get your foundation steady. Because it's like your foundations aren't built properly, that house is going to sink, or that house is going to come down. You know, if you're just like piling on these like, super expensive devices, and again, not anything's wrong with it, but just
keep it simple.
Use your judgment, you know?
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. We definitely needed to like talk more about Methylene Blue. Where can they find you again? What's your handles and stuff like that? Instagram handles, website?
Yeah, so we're thenutritionalparadigm.com. Or at The Nutritional Paradigm is our main Instagram page. You can see there. And then we have like a mini supplement page because we actually got taken down. Like our Instagram page got suspended back in March because we talked about psilocybin openly. Luckily it's back online and we have Paradigm supplements as well. This is just like more Methylene Blue specific. Nutritional Paradigm is kind of like, you can kind of see in this conversation of where I take things. It's more of just natural health and a lot it's been grounding, methylene blue, sunlight kind of research recently. But yeah, so this is kind of everything we do. We work a lot with the microbiome, so that's where to find us. And yeah,
I love it, man. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Definitely when I can think of some more questions, I definitely love having these conversations with you. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share. Please comment. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, please make sure to share. It helps out the content. It helps out the profile. But other than that, we love you guys. Ciao.